Great. So, welcome everybody. My name is Aga, and today we have an incredible guest on the show, Trent Dyrsmid, somebody I've been looking after and listening to for a while. And Trent is a serial entrepreneur. He sold his first company and then went on to developing another very successful online venture. And he's a founder of BrightIdeas.co. And he's an expert in marketing automation and content marketing. And today he will be teaching us how to develop a marketing agency, which I'm really looking forward to. Trent, what a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks for coming.
No problem at all, Aga. Thank you very much for having me here.
Fantastic. Look, I've been listening to a few interviews with you. You have some incredible stories to tell. Tell us a bit more about yourself. How did you get started with your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, it's not a glorious story. I was working in the financial services business. I had done for quite a few years. And I'd always worked in a sales capacity where I was paid on commission as opposed to a salary. So that's a little bit entrepreneurial. And around when the dot-com started to happen, I thought to myself, as I was watching stocks go up like crazy, I thought, well, gosh, I want to be rich too. So I decided that I would go back to school and learn how to write software so that I could actually get a job with a dot-com, oddly enough.
Oh, wow.
And while I was in school, I got an idea for my very first business. So I nixed the idea of trying to get a job when I got out of school. And instead, I worked on developing a business plan for a software company. And I rounded up a little bit of investor money and tried to make a go of that. That business wasn't successful because right around that time, that's when the dot-com started to melt down. This was about 1999. And so I started a company called Durand Systems with a fellow that I had met in my travels, and we didn't need any investor money to get that one off the ground. I had enough money of my own, and we just, from day one, we didn't even write a business plan. From day one, we just went out and looked for customers, and lo and behold, we found some. And as soon as you have a customer, you're in business.
Wow. What happened next with the company? How long did you run it for?
I ran it for 8 years and grew it to just shy of $2 million a year in sales. We were
Wow.
recognized as one of the Profit 100 fastest growing companies in Canada for 2 years in a row, and then I sold it.
Wow. Any big challenges along the way?
Oh, I mean, I could talk for hours. Yeah, there was endless. Any business owner will tell you that there are endless challenges. I remember one in particular. I ran out of money. We were about 3 years in. We weren't making profits yet, and so I had been feeding the company money out of my savings account the whole time. And then one day there was no money left in the savings account. The credit card was maxed out. I think I owed 40,000 on the credit card, and I owed 50,000 to an investor. And I had no more money to make payroll the
Oh,
next
wow.
on Monday. So on Saturday before Monday, I had to convince that investor to give me another 50,000 so that I could pay all my bills and keep the company going, and he did. And before we burned our way through that 50,000, we achieved break even, and then we didn't need any more investor money after that. So that was kind of a rough go.
Wow. What
Yeah.
what what made the difference? From going from the situation where you didn't have money to the situation that you break even, then went on to developing this massive company.
Well, it wasn't too massive. $2 million a year is pretty small in the grand scheme of things. But the difference was just we got more customers. So I just needed more time to get more customers because our overhead was fixed and our customers were paying us recurring monthly fees, which is something that I'm a big fan of. And we needed more customers to get revenue up above expenses. And when that happened, of course, we stopped burning through money.
You see, it's always about customers, isn't it? And always about sales.
Customer sales and cash flow, those are pretty important things. Yeah.
Yeah. So you ended up selling this company. What happened
hmm
next?
Next, I took a mini retirement and I moved to California and grew my hair long and I learned how to surf.
Also, how old were you? If I can
I was
ask.
38 at the time.
Wow. Must felt good.
It did feel good. Yeah, I sold the company for $1.2 million, and that was more money than I'd ever seen before.
Mm.
And life was pretty easy there for a little while. I didn't really worry about doing much of anything, and I enjoyed my vacation. And while I was surfing, I ended up meeting a girl who didn't seem like she really worked very much. And from that, I started asking her. One day, I said, "Don't you work?" And she says, "Well, sort of. I've got my own business on the internet." And I said, "Really?" I said, "What do you do?" And she was an affiliate marketer, and she was making about $200,000 a year, working only 2 hours a day. And so naturally, I was very interested in learning more about that. And so I asked her to explain to me how that business worked, and that was kind of my first exposure to this world of online marketing.
What attracted you to it? Obviously, the amount of money, I guess. Was that the time and the location independence as well?
Yeah, the lifestyle, just
Mm.
the ability to live anywhere in the world that you wanted to have websites make you money without you necessarily having to do work is very attractive. And there's millions of people around the world who would love to have businesses like that. And so I started heading down that path, and I didn't actually start following her advice right away. I had another business that I wanted to try and pursue and it distracted me for about a year, and that business never really went anywhere. So
Mm.
eventually I thought, all right, I'm going to do what the surfer girl taught me how to do. And her name is Haley. I've mentioned her in numerous interviews. And so I started building these little websites. And I was basically, what I was doing back then doesn't work anymore. But I was basically targeting keywords and building backlinks and
Mhm.
getting these sites ranked on the first page of Google. And then I'd put Google AdSense on them so that I'd make money from advertising. And then I was blogging about what I was doing. And then I created some training courses for what I was doing. And the business actually really took off.
Right.
But then when Google Penguin and Panda came out in mid 2012, that business came to a grinding halt. And I learned my first big lesson online, and that is to not build a business on a foundation of quicksand. And what I mean by that is when you're putting all of your eggs for traffic in
Mhm.
one basket, in my case, it was Google, you're making a really stupid move, because if Google was to change their algorithm in any way that affected your traffic, you're effectively out of business. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I don't do that anymore.
Wow. So did you end up losing most of the sites?
All of them.
Oh
The
wow.
only one, the only one that I didn't lose, and it still makes the same amount of money for me today, is a site called howtocleananything.com. I actually bought that one. And the reason that it wasn't negatively affected was it's a big site. There's over 600 pages, and it ranked organically without me ever
Mm.
having to build any links in any nefarious ways. And so that site still makes good money from AdSense, and it's a nice little passive income investment.
I see. And was that the time when you came up with bright ideas?
It was, yes. So I had started podcasting with my old business. It was called Online Income Lab, and I interviewed maybe 40 people or so. And I realized that I enjoyed podcasting a great deal, and I realized that it was a great tool to build a profitable audience. But what I needed to do was disassociate myself from the niche sites, and I needed to speak to an audience of mainstream business owners as opposed to people who were trying to start, a niche site business, for example, out of their, online or out of their house or whatever you'd like to describe it.
Hmm.
And so I knew it was time for a new brand. I knew it was time to reinvent myself. So I did that, created Bright Ideas, and when I founded Bright Ideas, my intention, because I used back then and I still use now some software called Infusionsoft, which I really love.
Hmm.
And I thought I'm going to create a lot of content and do a lot of interviews with people who've used Infusionsoft, and I'll be a referral partner for Infusionsoft so I can earn some affiliate income because it pays quite well. And then I'll create some information products, which I did, and we sold quite a lot of those. But I was now creating content that was very, very high quality, and solved real problems that real business people had in their businesses. And when you do that, you will, if you know how to promote your content, you will build an audience. And that's exactly what happened to me. Just over a year into it, I have an audience of around 10,000 people. We did 6 figures of revenue in our first year.
Wow.
And the business is very, very nicely profitable now and is growing steadily.
Wow. Would you say that there's a big difference in the mindset from creating the niche sites just for traffic and then creating a content which is really solving people's problems?
There's a huge difference in mindset. I allowed myself, like many people do, to be lured into the idea, the false idea, that there is easy money to be had online. And the reality is there's not. There are countless people who are looking for shortcuts to success. They don't exist.
Mm.
There are countless people who are trying to manipulate loopholes in Google or Facebook or Pinterest or wherever so they can make a quick buck. And in most cases, 99% of the cases, they're going to fail miserably. And then they're going to go on to the pursuit of the next shortcut. And that'll take 6 months. And then they'll go on to the pursuit of the next shortcut. And that'll take 6 months. And then they'll go on to the pursuit of the next shortcut. And that'll take 6 months. So 18, 24, 36 months in, they're still not making any money. But they ended up taking not a shortcut, but a long cut. Because if anyone were to put in 12 months into building a marketing agency, they would easily be able to quit their job. Easily. We did $18,000 in our second month. I have a student that did $55,000 in his first 90 days.
Wow.
But these people have this, I'm going to call it sickness of they're looking for the get rich quick stuff. And it just doesn't exist. It simply does not exist. The only way to succeed online is to work your ass off. It's a lot of hard work. And if you're not willing to do it, don't even try.
I love that. I so can relate to that. I've been caught in that for a few months as well, and it made me miserable. Miserable also on on the motivation level, because you know that all you do is just you do things for money, and you constantly look for a quick return, which never comes.
Yep.
And yeah.
And then you buy the next course that promises a quick return, and then you buy the next course that promises a quick return, and it just keeps on going. There are people out there who prey on the foolish. They sell garbage, and I hate those people.
Right. Yeah, I totally understand. So Bright Ideas is basically a big shift and response to that, isn't it?
It is.
Creating good content.
Yeah, that's what I wrote a book in December that I published, and I promote the book on webinars from time to time, and I did one this morning, and that's what I say on the webinar. If you're looking for the get rich quick short path, I said my training is not for you. It will not get you there. But if you want to build a real business that you can make 6 figures and run for years, but you're going to have to work, you're going to actually have to work to build it, then my stuff is for you.
So what would you say is the mindset somebody needs to have to basically build this kind of money, and let's say to create a marketing agency and actually make it successful?
Mindset number 1 is you have to believe in adding value to other people. So that means creating content that solves problems for other people. First and foremost, there's no shortcut to that. There's just not. You have to create the content. And then you have to engage. You have to pick a target audience, first of all, before you even create the content. So then you create the content while you are engaging with people in your target audience. You actually have to reach out via social networks, via Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, email. You actually have to reach out and have conversations with people to learn about the problems that they're having so that you can create, and especially when you first started and you don't know the target market very well.
Mm-hmm.
And once you understand the needs, wants, and desires of your target market, yeah, then you can create a lot of content for them and promote that content, and you'll know where they hang out, so you can promote your content where they hang out, and they'll find it. And if it's good, they'll like it. They'll read it.
Yeah.
They'll interact with you. They'll join your list, and they'll buy your stuff.
Yeah. Um, so just before we'll dig more into those areas you just mentioned, tell us a bit more about the Bright Ideas. Like what exactly do you guys do? What do you offer, and how successful it is now?
Sure. So Bright Ideas is my place on the web where it's the top of my funnel, so to speak. It's where I put all my
Mm-hmm.
content out for free. There's a podcast there that now has 100 episodes. I write posts all the time, and it gives away a ton of really valuable information. And by doing that, I built an email list and a following. And so periodically, I come out with products. I wrote a book. I have a course called the Best Bar Formula. I made a WordPress plugin, and people buy my products because they've seen enough of my free stuff to know that what I create is high quality. So they're quite happy to pay for it. And then because I talk a lot about Infusionsoft because I use it, I have a number of people in my audience who've reached out and said, "Hey, I want Infusionsoft in my business too." And so they became clients of our marketing agency. And that's what Bright Ideas is. It is something that is a vehicle that I've used to build a profitable audience. I have used content to build a profitable audience.
Your marketing agency part. What kind of services do you offer, or how does it work? This part of the Bright Ideas.
Right at the moment, we basically help people with who want to implement Infusionsoft, and we provide them with also, for those that want it, marketing strategy advice and guidance, content marketing strategy in particular. And that's all it does at this point in time. Um, if someone wants a website built, we could do that, but we wouldn't take, if someone says, I just want a website and it was a little website job, we wouldn't take it. I would just refer them off to someone else. We're in the process of creating a very specific set of marketing services for one niche in particular, and that will also be delivered by the agency. And we're probably not very far away from our first customer on that.
Wow. The reason I'm asking is because it looks very strategic. So obviously the reason why you're not offering many different services is because it's a strategic move on your side, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm only interested in offering
Yeah.
services that I can generate very, very healthy profits. This is another thing that I talk to the people who are in my mastermind group about, and I talk to a lot of people when I do coaching and calls and so forth and interviews, is most people, they think that any business is good business and worth having. And when you're very first starting, that might be true, but you need to get off that treadmill really quickly. You need to be very focused, and you need to make sure that you can charge premium prices for what you're doing. So that means two things. You need to have picked the right target market, and need to have picked the right services. Building a website is a commodity. There's no value in that. You can get cheap websites built. You can buy beautiful pre-made themes. You're never going to get great money for building a website. But marketing strategy, on the other hand, or creating high quality content, or implementing marketing automation solutions to help increase conversion rates, not everybody knows how to do that. That's not so much of a commodity, and you can make more money. And if you have the right clients, you can make very good money.
Wow, that's brilliant. I think that was the first step when I failed with my marketing agency efforts. Yeah. So that comes back to the picking up the right niche and the right client. So how do you do that?
It's not as hard as you would think. I would say that in the beginning,
Hmm.
look first of all to what you're interested in and the type of people that you want to deal with. Look to your personal network and reach out to the people who already know you and say, listen, I am in the process of putting together a report, And the goal of the report is to discover what the most successful companies are doing with their marketing that is enabling them to grow faster than all the other companies. And if you're willing to help me by answering 10 minutes worth of questions, I'll give you a copy of this report when I'm done. People will take the call. They will give you the 10 minutes. And then you're going to have all these one-to-one conversations, and you're going to be asking questions like, what is your biggest challenge? What is the thing that prevents you from increasing your revenue? You're going to dig deep. And when you dig deep, you're going to find problems. And what you're looking for is commonality of problems and commonality of desire to solve those problems. And when you find that out, you're going to start to get an idea of which niche you should pick. And then you just keep on going. There's no one right niche. There's lots of good niches. The one thing that is important is to pick a niche that has an average sale that's very high. So for example, someone could pick hairstylists. Well, a customer for them is worth what, like $20 or $30, right? Maybe they come in, if it's a guy, maybe he comes in once a month. So maybe he's worth $500 a year. But if someone sells trucks, those trucks could be worth $50,000 or $100,000 each. Sell one more truck, that's quite a bit of money. I'm gonna go after the people that sell trucks or machinery or they're dentists or they're lawyers. I want to go after the people who make big sales, or if the sale isn't big, it's very, very profitable because I can charge them much more for marketing services and they still can get a return on their investment with me.
Okay. Any other criteria you would look into when you're picking this niche?
Accessibility. Can you get to the people that make the decisions? I'd factor that in. Competition to a certain degree, but there's competition in every niche. So I actually don't really pay a whole lot of attention to that. But, if there was some huge gorilla in your particular niche that is just crushing it, well, maybe I'd pick a different one. But those would be the two other things.
Would you look at the industry, like size of the particular industry?
Yeah, that's not so much the size as much as the trend in the industry. There's an expression, to be a great surfer, you need a great wave. And without a great wave, you can't be a great surfer. So it does behoove you to pay attention to the trend. And so in one of the niches that the niche that I referred to earlier, there is a very powerful trend there that we are cognizant of and paying attention to.
Wow. Okay. You mentioned that you would reach out to these people and you would ask them particular questions. If you have in mind developing a marketing agency, would you ask specific questions about marketing?
Well, sure. That's exactly what the questions you should be asking. How do you get customers? How do you get leads? Are you getting enough traffic to your website? Do you think your website's doing enough job of capturing leads? How are you converting your leads in your database into customers? Is there a lot of pain and suffering? Does the conversion happen? I mean, you just want to ask them a whole bunch of questions about everything they're doing to try and get a customer.
Okay.
There's not a business on the planet that I've ever met that said to me, I have enough customers. I don't need any more.
Yeah. And then basically you look for problems and the solution would be for them, you basically develop the solution. Yeah.
Yeah, you look for well, first of all, you're doing a research report, right? So you're going to use something like SurveyMonkey, and you're going to record all the answers that you get from these people. So because you have to make you've made a promise, I'm going to give you a copy of my report if you talk to me. So you got to get the report. So then you get the report, you send it out to people, and you now know what some of the big problems are. So you should write some blog posts that are very helpful and solve those problems. And then you should contact all the people who did the report with you and send them links to your blog posts and say, hey, I would love it if you would come and comment on my blog. What do you think of the post? And here's what will happen. Somebody or somebodies on that list is going to read your post and go, can we hire you to do that for us?
Wow, this is genius. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what will happen. I could so envision that. Or so basically you have your first maybe a few prospective customers.
You could use that approach to prospect forever.
Wow,
You
true.
could be continually reaching out to people to say, I'm doing a research report. Can I talk to you? Continually adding the data to your report, always sending those latest people a latest copy, then pointing to some posts and asking them for their opinion. And then you just keep in touch. But you use automated software to keep in touch so you don't have to manually do it.
I love it. And that's basically, that creates a whole lot of ideas for the content you could create.
Correct. You'll never run out of ideas. Just all you have to do is ask yourself, what are my customers asking? What problems do they have? What are they searching for in Google? And then write posts that give answers.
Perfect. So, okay, so we have this report, and we have our prospective customers, and possibly somebody will hire us for a specific thing to do for them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that how it works. How would you differentiate yourself as a marketing agency?
By specializing in a niche.
Okay, so that would be the main thing.
Yep.
Cool. So we talk in our short email conversation, you said that in terms of the steps to getting started, obviously that's the picking up the niche, which we just discussed, then creating the foundation of content that solve the problem. Could you give us some more ideas? Obviously you can write a blog post, you can do a podcast as you do. What would be other ways you would want to create the content?
Special reports, videos. Between those four pieces, blog posts, special reports, videos, and podcasts, that's all you need to do.
That's great. And then another thing was the prospecting. So how to bring more leads. We discussed the report as a one way. What would be other ways to prospect, or how do you guys do it in Bright Ideas?
Go be active on social networks is one way. So, you go to LinkedIn and you join groups that are related to your topic, and then you share your content in those groups. And if people, which is what'll happen, is people will like your content or they'll comment on your content, reach out to those people. Say, hey, thank you very much for the comment. Thanks for reading my report. What did you think? Or my blog post. What did you think? What kind of business are you in? What role do you play in that business? Figure out if there's someone that you should actually be talking to. And if they are, then just ask them. So tell me about some of the struggles you're having in your business. Prospecting is nothing more than making connections with people by asking them questions. That's it. You don't have to say, hey, I'm this super awesome marketing agency guy and you should just hire me. Like, that's crap. Nobody wants to hear that.
True. Yeah, and then so you're just developing the relationship with your prospects, and then you just basically cater for their needs, whatever they need. Yeah.
How do you make a friend?
You are nice to them.
You're nice to them.
Yeah.
You show interest in them,
Yeah.
and you look for things you have in common.
Yeah.
Finding a customer is not a whole lot different than that.
Wow. When you have this customer, how do you so we talked a bit about the choosing the right services. You said that that's one of the important things. I understand that you would get a customer and then you would cater to their particular needs. But then if you would want to scale that up, would you focus on particular services you would want to provide?
Yes, and yes. Then that's the thing that people, when they first get started, they don't think about scale. They just think about getting a job. I got to get someone to pay me. But what'll happen very quickly is you realize that if you're having to do everything manually every time, it's going to be, if you have large clients that are paying high prices, you'll make great money. But if you don't, you're going to find it very hard to make enough profit to finance the growth of your company. You might earn a living, but you need to eventually grow. So it's not just you. You need to be able to hire other people. So to do that, you need to look for ways that you can gain leverage. And so things that you can do, I know a guy who he specializes in hotels, and all he does is manage their social media accounts, and he charges them between $800 and $1,200 a month. And then so he assigns one of his staff and he hires recent college graduates. So they only has to pay them, $30,000 a year. And then he just divvies up all the hotel's social media accounts across all of his staff. And he's able to generate about 18,000 a month in revenue per employee that he hires. So his
Wow.
costs are 3,500 and he makes 18,000. That's how you build a business that is going to make you wealthy and going to give you enough profits to hire other people. If you're out building websites and you're doing the work yourself and then you're charging your client $500, you're going to be poor your whole life. You can't make any money doing that.
Wow. How do you put a value on the services you provide? That was something I found really hard at the beginning, especially when you're starting out and you might not, you basically what you can do, yeah, but it was really hard for myself to put the value on the services I provide.
Yeah, that's also a very big problem mistake rather made by
Mm-hmm.
new entrepreneurs is they think, well, I'll use the website as an example. Client wants a website and I know that I can build it in 10 hours. And so I think I'm worth 50 an hour. So I'll charge them $500.
Yeah.
Wrong, wrong, wrong. You want to look at it from the other side. You're selling value. You're not selling time. If the website can help your client to get 10 more customers in the next year, and each one of those customers is worth $2,000 per customer, that's $20,000 in more revenue. You should be charging them $2,000 to build the website, and that way they can get a 10x return on their money. That's how you should be thinking about pricing.
Okay, that's a good example. You mentioned also in terms of the pricing, I know you're a big fan of the retainer model,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something I totally miss when thinking about the marketing agency I was building. Could you explain what is it and how does it work and what is it basically?
It means the client is going to pay you month after month after month to repeatedly deliver a set of services. So content creation is one service that you could do. Social media management is another service that you could do. It's something that they need like electricity
Mm,
month after month after month, and they become dependent on you for it. And that's why they're going to pay you a monthly fee. That's my last business, the one that I built to a couple of $1 million a year in sales. 1 million of those 2 million was recurring. So every month, $80,000 in the first day of the month went into our bank account, all in one chunk. Blunk. That makes running your business a whole lot more fun, I'll tell you.
I can see that, especially if you have a recurring revenue. Yeah, it's almost like a passive income if you have right systems in place.
Correct. That's
Mm.
that's why people love software companies so much,
Yeah.
software as a service. The other thing that it does is it creates what's called enterprise value. And all that is fancy words to say your company's worth a lot. When you have a company that makes $80,000 a month
Mm.
on recurring revenue, it is worth far more than a company that's doing the exact same amount of revenue, but that revenue isn't under contract, isn't recurring. It's just, sporadic.
Right.
Because people will pay for predictable revenue and they'll pay a premium to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of the prospecting and getting new clients on board, do you guys just do the content marketing and then, the promotion of this content online? Do you do anything else?
No. Well, that's not true. And it comes as a result of the content marketing,
Uh-huh.
people approach me from time to time expressing interest in partnering with me. And so I did a call this morning with the client of someone just like that. They
Mhm.
came to me and they said, I like your stuff. It's complementary to my stuff. Can we sell your stuff to my clients and can I get a cut? And I said, sure. So he arranged a call and that happens, um,
Yeah.
reasonably regularly. And this niche that I talk about going into, exactly the same thing. The guy, he was approached by two people who had customers in that niche, and he partnered up with them, and they've been quite successful. And then he, who's been following me for a few years, called me up or emailed me, and he said, "Hey, I think what you do and what we do would add even more value to the client if we combined the two of them. Are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I'm interested." And I suspect that if you were to interview me a year from now, that deal will have made us more money than anything else that we've done so far. But if I didn't create the content, he would have never known I existed. He would have never contacted me.
Yeah, I can see how that would be just a side effect of basically an amazing content you create.
Correct. And now, if you create crap content, this does not happen. You have to
Mm.
create content that solves people's problems. I know who my target market is, and so I create content that solves their problems.
Do you still regularly do the customer interviews, or do you regularly talk to your customers to discover more and more problems?
No. I mean, yes and no. It's indirect now. I
Yeah.
get a lot of emails from people, and so I answer them, and I know what those questions are. I do webinars, and I see what the questions are. I get comments on my blog posts, and I see what the
Yeah.
questions are. I get tweeted, and I see what the questions. I know what people are asking because I've been focused on this niche now for long enough to know exactly what their issues are.
Right. Why did you focus particularly on marketing agencies?
It's a good question. Because I did a little bit of research and I figured out that there was 90,000 marketing agencies in North America. Most of them are less than 15 employees. Running an agency is very similar to running the technology services company that I used to run.
Mm.
And I had an idea for a software application. So I'm also co-founder of a software company that's just getting ready to come to market. And I thought, all the stuff that I do is of interest to this tribe, and I really understand the business that they're in. So that's who I'm going to focus on.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, in terms of we talk a lot about the content. That seems like a main vehicle for everything what's happening in the agency. Um, how it's a lot of work. How do you, especially when you're starting, how do you start creating this huge amounts of content, and then how do you scale that up?
Well, when you're first starting and you don't have any clients, what else are you going to do?
Hmm.
You should be creating content all day long every day because you don't have anything else to do. Create it, promote it, create it, promote it, create it, promote it. That's it.
Right.
How do you scale it up? Well, podcasts, for example, are a great way to create content. I can create, a podcast in an hour, and then I've got someone who handles all the post production and everything else associated. I only have to talk on the microphone. And the other ways that you scale it up is you add people to your team, whether they be full time or part time, but you have to add people to your team.
Is that something you still could run? Could it be location independent?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have two people on our team that are halfway around the world, and we're just in the process of hiring a third one. Well, I guess my wife is the third one, so we're in the process of hiring a fourth one, and they're local, but they didn't need to be.
Okay. Um, would you recommend packaging services? I've seen that done quite a lot when I was getting into that. The idea that
Mm-hmm.
you could offer the packages for
Yeah,
yeah.
you should always have more than one price. When I sold my book in December, I offered it in 3 different price points with 3 different packages of extra stuff. And the most expensive package was the one that sold the best. If I hadn't have created it, I wouldn't have sold near as much of my book as I did.
Wow, that's crazy. Um, cool. You interview lots of marketing agencies, and I think that's what the content is just unbelievable. If anybody who's listening to it, please go to brightideas.co. I've learned so much. Do you see any commonalities? What makes successful agency? What do they have in common?
They create content first and foremost. They, generally speaking, all the stuff we've been talking about. They pick a niche, they create content, they promote their content, and they reach out and interact with people. And they make use of automation as well in their marketing funnel.
Um, could you tell us a bit more about the automation? Obviously, there's Infusionsoft. I'm not sure if you could explain what that is and how does it work and what do you mean by marketing automation?
Sure. So Infusionsoft is, I consider to be the leader in marketing funnel automation software. HubSpot is another piece of software. They're, I think, a little better on the content marketing side, helping people to blog and get traffic to their blog.
Mhm.
But Infusionsoft is particularly good once I get an email, a name and an email address.
Okay.
So what do I mean by automation? So I have the top of my funnel at brightideas.co is I offer a course. It's a free course. It's 4 videos long. Well, in order for me to build the best relationship possible with a person, ideally, I would personally see every email coming in and I would personally write a response. But that doesn't scale. So, what I need to be able to do is collect data about a person to learn what would be of interest to them and then have an automated follow up system that sends them only the content that is going to be of most interest to them based upon the data that I was able to collect.
Mhm.
Infusionsoft allows me to do that in a scalable way so that I can have 1,000 people and give them personalized attention. With to us, it's obviously not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. Um, but it allows me to scale that personal attention to 1,000 or two or three or 10,000 people. You couldn't do that without Infusionsoft.
Okay, I see. Is that handling just the email?
Infusionsoft for me is my CRM database. It's all my email marketing and it's my e-commerce, and it's all wrapped into one nice application.
Okay. Could you give us an example of how would that work? You have a free course, and then how do you gather the personalized information about the
Sure.
prospect?
So the course has 4 videos. So there's 2 types of data that I collect. There's internal data and external data. So when someone gets an email from me and they click on a link to be taken to video number 1, I tag them as having clicked that link. So that's a piece of
Ah, I
internal data.
see.
And then underneath each video is a web form where and in the video, I say, hey, below this video is a web form where I'd like to know more about you. Please fill it out. And so when they fill it out, that's external data. The more data that I collect, the more I can segment my list into subcategories. And then I'm able to either build a funnel or just do broadcast emails, whatever I prefer, to send the most relevant information possible to those people. The more relevant the information that I send, the more likely they are to end up buying one of my products.
What kind of information would you collect in that form?
Oh, I ask people all sorts of things. What's their occupation? How
Okay.
long have they been in business? Are they likely to buy any of my training products? Have they ever bought a training product before? What's their mobile phone number? What's the thing they want to learn about most? You can ask anything you like.
Wow, that's powerful. If you could get that information, then basically you have do you do does Infusionsoft do trigger based email?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Anytime a tag is applied, and I can apply a tag when someone just clicks a link in an email, I can trigger automatically an entire sequence of events to take place. That could be included additional emails. I could send them if I had their address, I could automatically send them cards in the mail. If
Wow.
I integrate with SMS, I can have a text message go to them. I can send, I mean, anything you can think of.
Wow. How do you have some numbers like what kind of difference does it make from your clients maybe or
No, not really. I don't have any hard data other than to say that it makes a big difference.
yeah, it feels like it would make a huge difference.
Well, I mean, my business is evidence of it. All the stuff that I sell happens because of all these triggers and automation.
Yeah. Awesome. You said in one of the emails we exchanged that the biggest mistake people make is getting ready to get ready.
Mhm.
What do you mean by it?
So they spend time on all the wrong things. Oh, I've got to write a business plan. Oh, I've got to get a logo design. Oh, I've got to get a business card. Oh, I need a website, and I got to set up all my social media accounts, and I got to write, 400 blog posts before I ever reach out and talk to anybody. No. No, 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 no. You don't need any of that stuff. You just need to say, "Hey, Reach out to your personal network and do what I told you to just do at the beginning of this interview. Just reach out to people and get started. You need to communicate with people.
Mm. Suddenly building a marketing agency seems so straightforward.
It's a building any business is a very straightforward process.
Wow. So
But
would you say that it's people who just make it complicated in their own
yeah,
heads?
yeah, fear gets in the way because we all have fears of loss, fears of loss of our money, fears of loss of our time, fears of looking foolish, fears of rejection. Fear is the number one killer of entrepreneurial dreams. And if you can get past your fear, yeah, and just go with it, you'll be successful. And that's why, with 90,000 marketing agencies in North America, it's a proven business model. Like, it's not like I wonder if it'll work. It'll work as long as you do. But if you don't work, it won't work. So you just need to be, okay, so this is going to work. I'm going to commit myself fully to it. I'm not going to try it and see if I can be successful. I'm going to go get myself some customers. I am going to go write the content that I need to write to get those customers. And I'm going to promote that content in a way to get it in front of them. It'll all work.
Yeah. Yeah, you just basically go and do it, isn't it?
That's it. Just got to go do it.
Fantastic. I don't think I have any more questions. I think you answered all of them. I'm pretty blown away on how straightforward that can be, you know? um yeah, so if you would to give just one advice for somebody who wants to develop their own marketing agency apart from go and do it, what would that be?
Go and do it.
Brilliant.
The rest of the advice is already in the preceding part of the interview. Just go and do it and make sure that you focus on a niche that has high customer value. That's the most important thing. Don't
Right.
sell to tiny little businesses. You want to figure out you're not going to get there from day one, but you want to sell to companies that are doing 5 to 10 million or 20 million or $100 million a year in sales, because they will pay you so much more to do the very same work that you could end up doing for some little itty bitty business that'll barely pay you.
That sounds a bit overwhelming to go to that companies at first. Would you
Well, you don't
recommend
go
that?
there. Here's what you do.
Uh-huh.
Every client that you get, here's a simple formula for moving up the ladder. Every client that you deal with, you say this: okay, my price is, I don't know, $6,000 to do this thing for you. But if you promise to give me a testimonial and you promise to make 5 referral introductions to your suppliers, I'll take $1,000 off the price. So you do that every time. You get a customer testimonial every single time. And suppliers are usually larger than the companies they supply. So you'll be constantly moving up the ladder.
Wow, that's good. That's brilliant. Right. And just to sum up, Trent, did you say that you have a course teaching people to basically grow a marketing agency? Did I understand right?
It's not just, so I have a couple of things.
Hmm.
I have a mastermind, which is specifically devoted to people who are growing marketing agencies, and they can learn more about that at brightideas.co/mastermind. I also wrote a book called The Digital Marketing Handbook that teaches people how to get traffic and build a profitable audience. Now, if you want to use that to build a marketing agency, it will work. If you want to use it to build any other kind of business, it will also work. And you can learn more about that at brightideas.co/book.
Brilliant. Cool. Anything else you would like to add?
No, I think that's it. I want to thank you very much for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming. Everybody, please check out the brightideas.co, and you'll be blown away with the quality of the content, and you'll learn bunch loads. So thank you so much, Trent, for coming. It's been a pleasure having you.
All right. Thanks very much, Aga.
Thank you. Wow.